a form of antifreeze. 23. HQ, a blend of distilled mustard, HD, and Sisqua mustard, Q. Gates and Moore, 1946. Signal Worddanger hazard statement H300, H310, H315, H319, H330, H335 precautionary statements P260, P261, P262, P264, P270, P271, P280, P284, P301 plus P310, P302 plus P350, P302 plus P352, P304 plus P340, P305 plus P351 plus P338, P310, P312, P320, P321, P322, P330, P332 plus P313, P337 plus P313, P361, P362, P363, P403 plus P233, P405, P501, NFPA 704, Fire Diamond, NFPA 704, 4-colored diamond. 411 flash point 105 degrees C, 221 degree F, 378K, safety data sheet, SDS, external MSDS related compounds nitrogen mustard bis, chloroaryl, ethachloromethyl methyl sulfide except where otherwise noted. Data given for materials in their standard state, at 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 kPa. Verify, what is check? Infobox references. Mustard gas alkylating an amino group via conversion to a sulfonium ion, 2-chloroalyltherinium, yellow cross. Any of several blends containing sulfur mustard and sometimes arsine agents, along with solvents and other additives. Commonly stockpiled mustard agents, class. Soldier with moderate mustard agent burns sustained during World War is showing characteristic bullae on the neck, armpit, and hands. Typical appearance of bullae on an arm caused by vesicant burns. Luizit, top row, and mustard gas, bottom row. Test with concentrations from 0.01% to 0.06%. Chemical code trivial name cast number PubChem structure bis, 2-chloroaryl, sulfide HHD mustard 505-60-2 SID 10461 from PubChem 1,2 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, ethanic Sisqua mustard 3563-36-8 SID 19092 from PubChem 2-chloroaryl ethyl sulfide half mustard 693-07-2 SID 12733 from PubChem bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, ethyl, etherto mustard 6391888 SID 45452 from PubChem 2-chloroaryl chloromethyl sulfide 2625-76-5 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, methane HK 63869-13-61,3 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, propane 63905-10-21,4 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, butane 142868-93-71,5 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, pentane 142868-94-8 bis, 2-chloroaryl sulfonyl, methyl, ether 63918-90-1. History. Development. Mustard gases were possibly developed as early as 1822 by Caesar Mansuet Desprez, 1798-1863. 24. Desprez described the reaction of sulfur dichloride and ethylene but never made mention of any irritating properties of their action product. In 1854, another French chemist, Alfred Riche, 1829-1908, repeated this procedure, also without describing any adverse physiological properties. In 1860, the British scientist Frederick Guthrie synthesized and characterized the mustard agent compound and noted its irritating properties, especially in tasting. 25. Also in 1860, chemist Albert Niemann, known as a pioneer in cocaine chemistry, repeated the reaction and recorded blister-forming properties. In 1886, Victor Meyer published a paper describing a synthesis that produced good yields. He combined 2-chloroethanol with aqueous potassium sulfide, and then treated the resulting thiodiglycol with phosphorus trichloride. The purity of this compound was much higher and consequently the adverse health effects upon exposure were much more severe. These symptoms presented themselves in Hy's assistant, and in order to rule out the possibility that his assistant was suffering from a mental illness, psychosomatic symptoms, Meyer had this compound tested on laboratory rabbits, most of which died. In 1913, the English chemist Hans Beecher Clark, known for the Eschweiler-Clark reaction, replaced the phosphorus trichloride with hydrochloric acid in Meyer's formulation while working with Emil Fischer in Berlin. Clark was hospitalized for 2 months for burns after one of his flasks broke. According to Meyer, Fischer's report on this accident to the German Chemical Society sent the German Empire on the road to chemical weapons. 26. Mustard gas can have the effect of turning a patient's skin different colors, including shades of red, orange, pink and in unusual cases, blue. The German Empire during World War I relied on the Meyer-Clark method because 2-chloroethanol was readily available from the German dye industry of that time. Use pallets of 155 mm artillery shells containing HD, distilled mustard gas agent, at the Pueblo Chemical Depot. The distinctive color coding scheme on each shell is visible. Mustard gas was first used in World War I by the German Army against British and Canadian soldiers near Ypres, Belgium, on the night of July 12, 1917. 27. Later also against the French Second Army. Ypres is a name used by the French, because the compound was first used at Ypres. 28. The Allies did not use mustard gas until November 1917 at Cambrai, France, after the armies had captured a stockpile of German mustard shells. It took the British more than a year to develop their own mustard agent weapon, with production of the chemicals centered on Avonmouth docks. The only option available to the British was the Desprez-Niemann-Guthrie process. 29. 30. This was used first in September 1918 during the breaking of the Hindenburg Line. Mustard gas was originally assigned the name Lost, after the scientists Wilhelm Lommel and Wilhelm Steinkopf, who developed a method of large-scale production for the Imperial German Army in 1916. 31. Mustard gas was dispersed as an aerosol in a mixture with other chemicals, giving it a yellow-brown color. Mustard agent has also been dispersed in such munitions as aerial bombs, land mines, mortar rounds, artillery shells, and rockets. 1. Exposure to mustard agent was lethal in about 1% of cases. Its effectiveness was as an incapacitating agent. The early countermeasures against mustard agent were relatively ineffective, since a soldier wearing a gas mask was not protected against absorbing it through his skin and being blistered. A common countermeasure was using a urine-soaked mask or face cloth to prevent or reduce injury, a readily available remedy attested by soldiers in documentaries. For example, They Shall Not Grow Old in 2018, and others, such as Forward Aid Nurses, interviewer between 1947 and 1981 by the British Broadcasting Corporation for various World War I history programs. However, the effectiveness of this measure is unclear. Mustard gas can remain in the ground for weeks, and it continues to cause ill effects. If mustard agent contaminates clothing and equipment while cold, then other people with whom they share an enclosed space could become present as contaminated items warm up enough material to become an airborne toxic agent. An example of this was depicted in a British and Canadian documentary about life in the trenches, particularly once the souterrain. Subways and berthing areas underground were completed in Belgium and France. Towards the end of World War I, mustard agent was used in high concentrations as an area denial weapon that forced troops to abandon heavily contaminated areas. U.S. Army World War II Gas Identification Poster C 1941-1945. Since World War I, mustard gas has been used in several wars and other conflicts, usually against people who cannot retaliate in kind. Sad smiley 32. United Kingdom against the Red Army in 1919, 33. Alleged British use in Mesopotamia in 1920, 34. Spain against the Raffayan resistance in Morocco during the Rif War of 1921-27, see also, Spanish use of chemical weapons in the Rif War, 32, 35. Italy in Libya in 1930, 32. The Soviet Union in Xinjiang, Republic of China, during the Soviet invasion of Xinjiang against the 36th Division, National Revolutionary Army, in 1934, and also in the Xinjiang War, 1937, in 1936-37, 33, 35. Italy against Abyssinia, now Ethiopia, in 1935-1936. 32. The Japanese Empire against China in 1937-1945, 33. The U.S. military conducted experiments with chemical weapons like leucite and mustard gas on Japanese American, Puerto Rican and African Americans in the U.S. military in World War II to see how non-white races would react to being mustard gassed, with Rolling Edwards describing it as it felt like y'all were on fire. Guys started screaming and hollering and trying to break out. And then some of guys fainted. And finally they opened the door and let us out, and the guys were they were in bad shape and it took all the skin off your hands. Your hands just rotted. White soldiers were not experimented on. 36. After World War II, stockpiled mustard gas was dumped by the British in the sea near Port Elizabeth, South Africa, resulting in many cases of burns among trawler crews. 37. The United States government tested effectiveness on U.S. naval recruits in a laboratory setting at the Great Lakes Naval Base, June 3, 1945, 38. The 2nd of December, 1943, a raid on Barry destroyed an Allied stockpile of mustard gas on the SS John Harvey, 39, killing 83 and hospitalizing 6 to 8. 40. Egypt against North Yemen in 1963-1967, 32. Iraq against Kurds in the town of Halabja during the Halabja chemical attack in 1988, 33. 41. Iraq against Iranians in 1983-1988, 42. Possibly in Sudan against insurgents in the Civil War, in 1995 and 1997. 32. In the Iraq War, abandoned stockpiles of mustard gas shells were destroyed in the open air, 43, and were used against coalition forces in roadside bombs. 44. By ISIS forces against Kurdish forces in Iraq in August 2015. 45. By ISIS against another rebel group in the town of Mer in 2015. 46. According to Syrian state media, by ISIS against the Syrian army during the battle in Deir ez-Zor in 2016. 47. The use of toxic gases or other chemicals, including mustard gas, during warfare is known as chemical warfare, and this kind of warfare was prohibited by the Geneva Protocol of 1925, and also by the later Chemical Weapons Convention of 1993. The latter agreement also prohibits the development, production, stockpiling, and sale of such weapons. In September 2012, a U.S. official stated that the rebel militant group ISIS was manufacturing and using mustard gas in Syria and Iraq, which was allegedly confirmed by the group's head of chemical weapons development, Slimane Daoud Al-Afari, who has since been captured. 48, 49, 50. Development of the first chemotherapy drug.